Coming at you live from Brooklyn and Jersey, it's Real Talk, Rates, and Repeat with your hosts Gary and Queeny from Cliffco Mortgage. Real stories, real advice, no fluff. Let's go.
Hey guys, here we are back at Real Talk, Rates, and Repeat. So, this week's topic, I think it's going to be a really interesting one. We're going to try to really hit home with this. So, Gary,
Yeah.
we've both been in the business for 20 somewhat years,
Yep.
give and take, right?
2004.
Give or take. But, you know, it's a hustle since the very beginning, whether you're a newbie in the business or even, you know, having been in the business for so long. So how do we maintain like the peace and passion and, you know, the performance in one of the most, you know, demanding industries and stressful industries out there? How do we not let the hustle take over our lives, right? Like, I mean, in all honesty, I've gone crazy so many times through the last 20 years,
Yeah.
but I'm still here. So, you know, something's got to work, right?
It's a great topic, right? Because I feel like it talks about not just us professionally, but I feel like it talks about us personally, right? Because you're basically starting as basically a bright-eyed, bushy kid, and then now we're adults with families and things like that. So even with our careers growing, we grew as people. So I think initially when I first got into the industry, it was in a call center environment, right? We all heard the story. You know, I worked for a subprime company called New Century Mortgage, call centers. Honestly, it was a lot of shotgunning Red Bulls at nighttime, right? Because it's a call center. So you're just sitting there, just shotgunning Red Bulls, trying to keep up with the calls. And then afterwards, it was always about just hanging out with your friends, you know, because you're in mid-20s, you just want to hang out, you want to drink, you want to have a good time. I think now it's a little bit different. And, you know, we'll obviously probably talk more about this and go more in depth. But now I think my release, honestly, and, you know, yours is probably the same thing, is honestly my family. You know, just spending time with my family after a stressful day, and just not letting work. And that's that is, I think, the hardest thing, is just not letting work dictate your time with your family. I think you said it during, I think with your ARIA mentor, Tom, was that Tom said, you know, when do you have time for your family, right? He said that, and he was like, you got to schedule that in. And I think
You have to time block it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, is, you know, just taking time, your own personal time, right? Whether everybody's talking about like their schedules, and it's just like, well, if you don't schedule time for yourself, you're never going to have that piece of sanity for you. You know, you're always going to be stressed.
Right. I mean, and also I feel like this industry, in a way, it kind of glorifies burnouts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it kind of, it's more like a mindset shift versus a time in your life kind of shift. But also in a way, it's like where you are in your life also helps with the mindset. So I guess that plays into it. But being in real estate, whether you're a loan officer, a realtor, or a title person, insurance, like anyone in that's a piece of that real estate transaction, the idea is that, oh, I work hard, I work all day. It's almost like if you're not burnt out or you're not working around the clock, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the glorification of it. Right. The showing people that like, hey, I'm up at 4 a.m. and like I'm still in the office at 1 a.m. Hey, and look, honestly, I respect anyone who dedicates their life to their job like that and has that type of hustle, that type of endurance. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's like, oh, that's not the right way to do it, or, you know, I have any opinions on that, because I've done that myself and I still do that when necessary. Right. But I think the key to what I just said is when necessary. Right. It shouldn't be a badge of honor that you're wearing, that all you do is letting your job give you that identity, because that's all you do. The how, right? How do you determine when isn't necessary? How do you determine when it's like how to set your boundaries, or when, you know, that that hustle needs a little bit of a break and you need a release, right? I think that's the hard part. So I want to actually, before you tell me about your release, and you kind of dipped into that a little bit,
Yeah.
what was it about this job that you were like, yeah, I want to do this, even though it requires this intense stress, this intense hustle? Why didn't you just go get a 9 to 5 somewhere? Like, you know, call it a day at 5, 6 o'clock and not have to answer your phone.
Yeah. So when you're young, obviously, I think a lot of people get into just any sort of job just because it pays and it pays well, right? But then as time progresses, and then you really find out what you're really doing, and your home ownership, right? You're helping somebody achieve their dream, and then that's what your dream is. You want to buy a house. You want to, so it's an avenue to create generational wealth for not just yourself, but also the families that you're helping. So you actually take pride in that, and they're like, I really like my job, even though it's stressful, right? I literally saw a reel on Instagram today where it was funny, right? But as for loan officers, for yourself, it was titled Loan Officers Day, and it just has one person in the middle, and it has like listing agent, buyer's agent, and underwriter just punching the loan officer. And it's just like, that sort of tells me like what your job is.
I saw that.
You did? Okay. So we saw the same reel. Amazing.
Yes, I was like, wait, why does this sound so familiar?
Yeah.
As and it was like, this is a week of being a loan officer
yeah.
or something like that, right? Yeah.
So it's just like, you as a loan officer, you are literally everybody's punching bag, whether it goes right, whether it goes wrong. Everybody comes to you, right? So it's just like, that is like the bad part about the job, which is just the stress level that you're dealing with. Because no matter what happens, it's always you, right? And it's just, but at the end of the day, when it finally closes and you're able to sort of speak to the clients and all that stuff, then it's really impactful, and it makes me proud, like, wow, I did a good job, and they're so happy, like. It's very rewarding at that time. Plus, you do make money, So I think that's definitely the reason why I stayed in it. And just really getting to meet some amazing people in the industry, some true entrepreneurs. I could just ask you, like, how many people have you just met just in real estate that you're just like, wow?
I was literally just thinking that as you were saying it. I feel like being in this industry is one of the few where you are literally meeting everyone. Like, if you're a doctor, you're focused on meeting like your patients, right? You're curing whatever is their ailment is, right? They're coming to you kind of with something you have to address immediately. You don't really get to dive into like, so what do you do? How's your family, right? Like really get to know them. Being in real estate, you are having deep conversations with your clients, with the agents, with the attorneys. Like, you get to meet all these people, learn about what they do. And, when I said meet, the agents, agents, attorneys, and all those other people, you already know, like, okay, that's their industry, right? Yeah. But your client is like
anybody. They
could be a restaurant worker, they could be a restaurant owner, they could be a doctor, they could be a dentist, they could be like a construction worker. It's just, you're meeting all types of people.
Yeah. You could have literally programmers that built an app and sold it for $50 million, and just like, what?
Yes.
Like, it's crazy. And just,
right. And that's the amazing part about our job. Like, we get to hear the stories. If you care enough to ask, if you care enough to listen to their story, we're in a position where we could easily be intrusive. And it's okay to be, right? And to me, that's very interesting. I want to know about everyone's like journey and what they did, and especially like the ones who built something for themselves or whatnot. Like, everyone has their story. Mm-hmm. And that's what keeps our business kind of on the edge of our seats in a sense, right? Or interesting. But that's the pros. The cons, though, okay, let me ask you a question. What was the weirdest situation you were in where you had to like pick up a client call? And when I say weird, it's more like, right before you're about to walk down the aisle for your wedding? You know, like
Okay,
what was the most like,
yeah,
you know,
that
the situation where you're like, I wish I did not pick up that call because something else was more important, or whatever the case may be.
I wish I could say there was just one, but I feel like there's so many
Right?
that you're like, man.
Exactly.
But that's the thing. You literally just said it, right? You literally just said it. You're just like care, right? It's because you care too much about each transaction and each person that you're dealing with. Like you are getting very intrusive. You are learning some very intimate details about these people financially, like credit wise, that
Personally,
sometimes
right?
their
Yeah.
spouse doesn't even know. They're like, I'm buying a house with somebody, and they're like, I didn't know their credit was 600. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're finding out a lot of things. But yeah, it's because you care so much that's why sometimes, you know, um, like you said in the very beginning, it's just like, I'm accessible all the time. And you've had those people that text you at like 11:45 at night. It's like, hey, can I ask you a question? And can you leave it on red? 100% you can. 100% you can. But do you? No. No, you think it's okay. You think it's okay to just sit there and just answer their one little question. And then it winds up going into this whole like 15, 20, 30-minute text conversation. And, it's just because you care so much, but it also stresses you out.
That leads to the burnout
Yeah.
because unfortunately, look, there's pros to that, which is, the client could be super appreciative that you're there for them whenever they need you to be, and they can, leave you a great review or whatever the case may be. But when that doesn't happen and it becomes kind of like given that, like, instead of the client being appreciative
No,
of
it's
you being
expected.
accessible, it
Yeah.
becomes an expectation. Then in a way, just human psychology, right? Like you then I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a resentment, but it ends up being a burden. It ends up causing a burnout because now you're like, I'm doing all this work and I'm not even being appreciated. But then at the end of the day, if you look back, it's like you kind of set that boundary for yourself,
Oh,
right? Like
yeah.
you said it's okay to call me at midnight or to not, not put your foot down in a sense when, hey, I really can't talk right now, right? But I don't want people to hear this and mistaken like, oh no, like I work until 7 and I turn my phone off. Don't bother calling me, whatever the case may be. That's not true. Like me not saying you can call me at any time of the day doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean that you're not important or this client isn't as important. It's just that I care enough to want to last in this industry.
Yeah.
I don't want to burn out and not be around anymore. And also, I'm working all day. If I'm talking to you at 11 p.m. to solve a crisis, chances are that whatever conclusion we've come to, we're going to have to rethink this the next day anyway.
Yeah.
Because my brain may not be working at optimal quality at that time.
Yeah,
to be honest.
it's 11 at night. Like you're like, it's you're not fresh. You're like ready to go to bed. So,
And the truth is, I'm thinking about it. If I have a tough deal, I am thinking about it at 11 p.m., but I'm just not making any decisions until the next day.
yeah.
Because I need to make sure that whatever decision I'm making or however way I'm advising my clients it's accurate, it's the best possible outcome, it's of quality. So anyway, I mean, this all just circles around picking up the phone at a certain time, right? But other things that you've come across that you may, if you had to think back right now and be like, all right, well, if I had handled this a little differently, I wouldn't, it could have avoided a certain type of burnout.
I think a lot of the burnout is obviously part of it is obviously clients, right? Client interactions, and another one is just sort of self-imposed. It's like you said, it's because you don't set your own personal boundaries. It's something that you learn as you progress in your career and as you grow as a person, right? In the very beginning, like you said, it's just like I'm available all the time and whatever. Like, email me, text me, whenever you want to. But now as you're older, you're just like, hey, listen, this is my cell phone. You can call, you can text me, but please be, respectful of my time. And I think that's a very important to just let them know. And I think from a client perspective, if you say, hey, here's my cell phone, use it if you need to, like, they are already appreciative of that, right? But you also want to let them know, like, hey, I have a family, you know, I have other clients as well. Please respect my time, you know? And I think that needs to be said. And I think that, like, once I started sort of letting people know, like, hey, you know, this is usually what I'll answer, you know, emails up until, like, please feel free to text me. If it's an emergency, text me. And I'll get back to you. But if I don't get back to you the next day, just please be understanding of my time. You know, I think if you don't say that, then people are just going to run all over you, and it's going to add to your stress. That's the biggest thing, is stress. The other thing too that adds to your stress, this is a big one. This is a big one, right? In the real estate industry, does everything happen so easily? Does everything happen like nothing, like there's no problems with any files, right? Is that a common thing, or is that a rarity?
That is absolutely a rarity.
Right. So as any human, it's just like something happens, whether something underappraises or a client did something, and then all of a sudden you get this angry email from somebody. And, you know, I don't know about your reaction, but my reaction is always defensive. You're like, I didn't do anything wrong. I did it. And in the very beginning, when I first started out, I'd always want to just reply back to the email right away.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody taught me when I was working at the Stagecoach company, somebody taught me. And they're like, if you're angry, write an email. But do me a favor, don't send it.
Don't send it. Yes.
Send it to me
Mm-hmm.
instead. My manager's told me that. My manager's like, send it to me. So I said, okay. So I started doing that. And that just, you know, like my frustration and my anger just sort of, it subsided, because I wrote what I needed to write. I sent it out, and I didn't stress about it anymore. Right. So I sent it to my manager, and it was just more like, okay, this is what's happening. And then we'd work on it. You know, then we'd work on it. We'd work to find a solution. So that definitely helped decrease a lot of my stress per file. And I wish I knew that earlier during my career, right? Because earlier during my career, before I went over to the Stagecoach company, I was always, you know, even though you're part of a team, right? Like, you were still your own individual loan officer. So you were always
Mm-hmm.
like in your office by yourself. You weren't like, you know, because I worked for, what are they? The Octagon company? I don't even know what they're called. You know what company?
You've been around the block.
Yeah.
You've been around the block.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Well, you started there. So, like, you know, the Octagon, the Blue Octagon,
Yes. The blue octagon. Right.
Yeah. But
am I even allowed to say? Yeah.
I don't want to. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
But you, like, a lot of the loan officers, they're not in one centralized location, right? A lot of the loan officers, they, you know, they're like, oh, go work at the branches, right? So you're by yourself. So nobody else in that more times than not, there's a single loan officer. It's not multiple loan officers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have anybody else to complain to. You don't have anybody else to talk about the file. It's you, you know, unless you call up and things like that. So, like, just not being able to do that, and then just being that young and reactive, just slamming my keyboard, typing some angry email that added to stress and just probably made the situation worse than anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because that is also, I think, like a human psychology thing,
Mm-hmm.
where, like, it's why people go to therapy. It's why people keep journals, because when you let it out in whatever way it is, whether it's writing that email, pounding really hard on that keyboard, or talking to someone about it, once you let it out, you feel better, right?
Yeah.
But you kind of said it right there, where it's like, if you react to your client and you type up that email, you send it, you may be making the situation worse, because that's a difference between you just needing a release versus you actually responding professionally to fix a problem, right? Whether the problem is your fault or not, you being in that professional role, because you're the loan officer, the title person, the realtor, or whatever, right? That you're in your career position. Your client is the third person. You know, like, your job is to do your job professionally. Mm-hmm. So responding in that way, being reactive, isn't the best thing to do. But once you get it out, then you may be able to think clearly. That's why people keep journals, right?
Yeah.
How many coaches have you spoken to that they say, hey, before you go to sleep, maybe do this, recap your day and think about what you're doing the next day, right? Write it down, put it on paper, right? It's all about getting it out, clearing your mind. And it's fun. When you were saying that, I actually thought of, not really related, but sort of. So I am a nighttime eater, right? Like I love eating at night. The later, the better. You know, like I need to eat right before I go to bed. It's so bad. And what I notice is Uber Eats is the death of me. Like I can't, like it's so bad, but I love them, right? So what I started doing is you know how people scroll Instagram? I scroll Uber Eats, right, at night. So instead of ordering the food, my Uber Eats account has like 15 carts because I would scroll at night and then I would add things to the cart. But now what I don't do is purchase it.
Oh my God.
Because 8 out of 10 times I would purchase it and then it would come 15, 20 minutes later and I would take 2 bites and I'm good. Yeah, right? And like Uber Eats is expensive. There's no charge, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing this and I'm just like throwing away $20, $30. But it's psychological, you know?
Yeah.
So I find myself, and I didn't even notice I was doing this until I literally found out, like I looked at my Uber Eats and I had like 19 carts.
Oh my God.
So I threw in food from 19 different restaurants and I never ordered it. But it's the same concept as like, hey, when you really need to react and you really want to get it off your chest or whatever, type it out, write it down, talk to someone, and 9 out of 10 times, you're going to feel better after, you're going to have a clearer head, and you're going to make better decisions. Yeah. In my case, I saved myself a few pounds, right?
Yeah.
Better decisions, right? But that definitely is an immediate burnout tactic, right? Or like a burnout prevention tactic, to take a beat. That's what one of my life coaches I was speaking to, I kind of labeled it. I was like, I'm learning how to take a beat before I respond, before I react. Because just like you said, I'm impulsive as well. You know, like I feel something, I see something, especially if it's like not favorable for me or towards me. Yeah, you get defensive. You want to like prove your point. You want to give your side of the story. You want to make sure everyone else understands that you're not in the wrong, right? But if you take a beat, then you can see the situation clearer, know how to handle the person that's pissed off a little better, and also realize that I don't need to advertise to the world that like I'm not wrong here, because honestly they probably don't even care.
They don't care. Right. Because it's that one negative thing that I feel like no matter what, whether it's your fault, whether you correct it, anything like that, it's still going to be that one sort of example that they're always going to remember regardless. So what were some signs, right, that like you personally came across where you realized you're like, hey, you know, I need a break? Right? Like for me, it's like little things where I realized if I started calling everything that started with a B borrower, I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop. Or like, I would dream about my files. Yeah. You know, like that's when, and I'm not even exaggerating, you know, like people who are listening to this, they're probably thinking like, really? You dream about your files? You dream about work? I'm like, absolutely. The harder the file, I literally would dream about specific files, not just like, oh, randomly, you know, closing a deal. Yes, actually, you're right. It's a nightmare, right? But it's like little things like that for me. I'm like, okay, I need to like reset. I need to like reassess how I'm handling work. If we want to sort of talk about that, we want to talk about sort of releases from the stress. Like, what did you normally do? Like, you know, to combat that stress, right? And in the real estate and world realm, I think a lot of interactions, especially in New York, it's funny because one of my friends actually said this. It was just like, but how do you network and how do you meet people in the real estate industry in New York? It's always about happy hours. It's always about happy hours, more times than not, right?
8 out of 10 loan officers are alcoholics. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
It is. So I feel like that was a very unhealthy release that I sort of dived into, because it was always like after a long day of work, it's, you turn to your coworkers. It's just like, hey, what do you want? Do you want to go grab a quick one? Yeah, let's go. One turns to two to three to like sometimes it winds up being a whole night of things. And when you're young, no family, not married, okay, that might be fine, right? But then once you have a family and you have more responsibilities, it's, that's not okay. I don't think, in my mind, it's just not okay. I felt like that sort of release, especially during COVID when everybody was required to stay at home, right? Like you're at home and then all of a sudden now it's like you're grabbing, for me, and this is really personal, right? But it's like I'm at home, I'm stressed out, I'm just going to grab one. And then since you're at home, one can turn to 2 to 3, maybe 5 or 6 during the freaking day, like that's super unhealthy. And it came to a point where it's just, any little tiny thing that was stressful, it was just, let me grab a drink.
Yeah. Or like, oh, I need a drink after this. Like, I'll take a call and I'm like, oh, I need a drink, right? You don't need a drink.
You don't need the drink.
Yeah, you need a drink in your head.
Yeah.
It's actually quite embarrassing. Like, I remember it got to a point where I had a colleague say to me, like, oh, I knew you were in the office because I heard the that sound of opening a high noon.
Oh, my God.
And I'm just like, what is it about that, right? Like, that... Does it really make you feel better? I don't really know. I think it's more of a habit, right? Once you had that first drink and you associate, like, I had a rough day. And this is also, I think, like, social media or just, like, TV and things like that in general. Like, you're stressed out. You're at the bar with the cup of whiskey and your tie all disheveled, right? Yeah. Like, that is just the idea. You're stressed out, grab a drink, right? And I like to drink. Anyone who knows me knows I like to drink. So in no way am I saying stay away from alcohol, don't drink. But there's a difference between using a drink as a Band-Aid, using a drink as an escape versus like, hey, let's hang out and grab a drink.
Right. Being a social drinker. Yeah.
But that's one of the things. It's such an easy fake burnout avoidance that people use that actually makes things worse. And like what you were saying about the networking, right? Like I don't really know anyone in the real estate industry. Like there's only a handful of people who's like, oh yeah, I don't drink. That's just not what it, because whether
in New York, at least in New York, it's very hard. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And it's like, whether you're trying to meet someone to make an introduction, build a relationship, it's so easy. Hey, let's go grab a drink, right? Because the idea behind it is also, well, you're more relaxed, right? So then it's like we can build that relationship, we can build that friendship. That's also something I learned through the many years of doing this. I realized that if I'm trying to build a relationship, especially with a referral source, someone that I'm like, hey, work with me, I want them to first see that I know what I'm doing and that I am of quality with my work before I show them, hey, I can hang. So when I was younger, what I used to do was I would hang out with a bunch of real estate agents or referral sources, and we would party, we would have dinners, we would go to happy hours, right? And the consensus was always like, oh, Queenie's really cool. Like, she's great. I like her, right? But they would never give me a deal. But they would always have great things to say because it's fun. Like I would like to think that I'm someone that, people can easily talk to and, we can have a good time and things like that. But then as I got older, I realized, you know what? You can be my friend, but if I want to also have a working relationship with you, before you become my friend, you need to see me as a professional first.
Yeah.
Right? So even when it comes to the networking piece of it, and now we're just kind of diving into unhealthy habits, right? But even with the networking piece of it, it's still not the best way to build relationships when it's just circled around like hanging out and drinking or whatnot.
It's totally not. Like,
Yeah.
what I do like nowadays and that I'm seeing more of is just people doing just a lot healthier activities, right? It's just like they're going out to play pickleball. They're doing like basketball. I
Spin
think,
classes,
yeah, I think I saw,
right?
yeah.
Fitness classes,
I think I saw James and Christian. They sponsored like some sort of like
badminton.
Like, these are like healthier. These
Yes.
are like healthier alternatives. And for me, it's listen. I'll still drink like every once in a while, right? But it's not as abundant as it was coming out of COVID, like where it just got really, really, where I'm just like it was almost like soda at a point. I was just like, but now it's just like, hey, it's I set my times. It's I drop my daughter. So I have 2 times I go to the gym. It's either at 6 o'clock in the morning, or it's after I drop my daughter. I'll go to the gym. That's my time. That's my time to do me, to work out, and just release whatever I have before I start my day, because I feel like you need to start your day with a clean slate. So that's me. And that while I'm working out and doing all that stuff, I can run through my schedule. That's me now. It's a lot easier.
And how much more productive do you find yourself after doing that?
I find myself a lot more productive, but I think my wife feels like I'm a lot happier, right? Because I'm not bringing that stress home.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, is just bringing that stress home and how it affects your family life. Because even though, like, especially with kids, it's just like sometimes, I don't mean to snap at my kids sometimes, but sometimes it happens because you're just so stressed and frustrated.
Yes.
And that's when, you really need to take a step back and be like, man, that was not good,
And you usually feel like crap afterwards.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's never like you snapped and you felt better after that, right? Like it snowballs into something else, and now you're questioning like your parenting, your life, like how if your kids are going to be traumatized by all this. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't the different triggers that causes burnouts from someone who's in any type of high stress, high intensity industry is going to be different for other people. But I think the approach to either resetting from that burnout or avoiding the burnout could be a little bit more universal, right? What I mean by that is, so for example, one way where I feel like it's more of a burnout prevention is knowing when to ask for help.
Yeah. That's a
right?
big thing.
And like normalizing getting help before you crash. So being able to say, okay, no, I got this. I can deal with this. I can deal with that. I got this. It's almost, again, another false badge of honor, right? Yeah. As if you can shoulder everything. But through the years, I've actually learned being able to say, hey, I'm not so good at this, or like I need some guidance with this. Knowing how to ask for help, or being able to even ask for help, is much more of a badge of honor than just saying, no, I got this all on my own. Like, yeah. I did this all on my own, right? And that leads to also making sure you keep a circle around you of people that either you respect, you like, you can talk to, will understand, or, that you're just comfortable with too. Because no matter what you do, I truly believe like it takes a village, whether it's, raising your kid or getting a deal done, as simple as just like, let's just talk about one single transaction, right? Mm-hmm. You can't do it on your own. Yep. You're going to need the agent, you need the attorney, you need your back office, you need this and that. Like, it always takes a village. That applies to your sanity too. Yeah. So keeping like good mentors around, good teammates around, assistants around, friends, and just knowing how to go to them, and it's okay to go to them, is actually a very huge step that I think a lot of people don't do.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree there. I think it's a learning experience, and it comes with just honestly just experience and age. Because like you said in the very beginning, you're like, I can handle everything. Because you don't want to think that, in your mind at least, you're like, oh, I don't want them to think I don't know what I'm doing. But it's like you said, If you say, hey, I'm not that familiar with this, but I have a colleague that does this all the time, that is more respected than just saying, I can do it. In the back of your mind, you're like, I think. Right? And then when you mess up, guess what happens? You get more stressed out because you messed up, right? And then you're sitting there trying to work out and like correct the situation where you could have been like, hey, listen, I have my friend over here. He knows exactly what to do. Let me either turn it over to him or let me work together with him on there. So asking for that help, it just, like I said, it's a learned thing. And you realize when you're older that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's actually okay to say, hey, I'm stressed right now to your family. Like it's, just dealing with the stress. Like you said, it's a very stressful industry. So now it's like I said, I go work out, I spend time with my family. Another thing that I like to do is I like to go golf. Like that's what I like to do. Right. Those are a lot healthier alternatives than to just stay at home in the dark and just drink yourself to death,
You reminded me of before when you were talking about the, setting the boundaries and like taking calls from clients around the clock and things like that. Admitting, so there's two things I think that would actually keep clients from thinking that, okay, so you're telling me you're going to set all these boundaries, which means that you're not going to be accessible, you only work certain times or whatever. Like, that's not really the case as long as you also build that trust during the times that you are communicating with them. So one of the ways is what you said. If you are speaking to a client and you don't know the answer, you can say, hey, like, you know what? Let's do this, or let me connect you with this person, or I'm going to work together with this person for that answer. If you build that trust with your client or with your referral partner during the times that you are speaking to them, they're not going to think that that 9 o'clock call that you're not picking up means that you're not working, you're neglecting their file, or whatever the case is, because they already trust you.
Yeah. 100%.
They already know, they know your work ethics. They already know that, like, when you're working on the file, you are getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So because a lot of times they're reaching out to you at these absurd hours because they're also at a state of anxiety, right? They're thinking like, hey, I need an answer to this, right? Like I'm panicking about this, or this question is disturbing me, so I need an answer to it. Mm-hmm. So if they can't find you, they're like, oh my God, things are falling apart. But if they know that, like, you know what, I know she's going to take care of this, I know at the end it's going to be okay, they will be less stressed. They will have less anxiety, which means they're not going to
put all the anxiety when they're with you. Yeah. They're not going to put it all on you.
And how do you create that type of trust, right? It's when you're working, it's showing that professionalism. It's letting them know that, like, I got this. Like, I am taking care of your deal, right? Or whatever the case may be. So, I feel like this topic could just branch into so many different, like, suggestions and advice and things like that. But, to kind of reel it back into, like, the whole burnout thing.
In order to avoid burnout, have to find healthier alternatives, healthier hobbies, things that you're passionate about that you like to do, and there's just so many different like passions and hobbies that different loan officers do. Some of them work out, some of them play pickleball, some of them like to cook.
So what's yours?
Like I said, it's just golf, workout, and my family. That's what I like to do. Although, after conversations with other people, they're like, maybe you should try pickleball, maybe I should, I don't know.
Working out has never been a thing I couldn't, like, I don't know. I don't find my release in working out.
You need to find something that you're passionate about in order to work out, right? Some people can't sit there and just lift weights. Some people can't sit there and just, take a spin class or go to Orange Theory. Like, there's so many different things out there that people can find and experience and just like.
I think I'm just a bit more vain. Like, if I'm working out, that means, like, that scale is telling me to work out. And that's what motivates me to do that. But, like, when it comes to, like, a burnout release or, like, something, if I'm really stressed out and I, like, need to decompress, you said it before, like, cooking. I cook a lot. I love to cook. It's very therapeutic for me, but I don't eat the food that I make.
Or you just find healthier alternatives to the ingredients that you have, right? So that way it's one, like, and it's something that you can do as a family, right? Because you like to cook.
Oh no, I need to be let alone when I'm cooking. As a matter of fact, if when my husband comes home and he sees that I made, like a 5-course meal, he's like, shit, Queenie's stressed out today. Like I'm leaving her alone and I'm just gonna sit here and eat quietly. So yes, cooking is definitely more of a like I'm an angry cooker.
Oh, there you go. Well, I was gonna suggest, because I think so we bought these kid safe knives, right? They're just serrated.
Yeah.
They're just serrated knives. They're very.
Yeah.
They're just kind
I
of,
have those.
yeah. So my wife lets our kids cut vegetable. I mean,
Their own fruits or vegetables or whatever. Yeah,
they're horribly cut. They're horribly cut. Like one carrot's like a centimeter, the other carrot's like 2 inches. It's just like, all right, I guess no consistency. Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's just finding healthier, different things that you can escape to. That way, you're not stressed. Cooking, working out, painting, photography.
I'm a Lego maker.
See, that's the thing. I would never want to do that, because then that would wind up taking up space in my house. And I'm not a hoarder.
Oh yeah, my husband hates me for that. Like
Yeah.
it's everywhere. I have Lego sets literally everywhere. Like I'm creating a little Lego museum in my house. Yeah, it's insane for me. I love it. I stay up all night doing Legos. Now I'm trying to do it more like in a therapeutic way. So I'll do like, for Lego makers out there, I would do like 1 bag or 2 bags a day. So the way it works now, like if you get a whole Lego set, it could be like 50 bags of Legos,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And you're doing like, increments or like pieces of a whole Lego set. So I'll be like, okay, I'm doing 2 today because I'm stressed out and I need to like stop. Like sometimes, honestly, like I stop if I am dealing with a very stressful file, or I just got off like a really crazy phone call, I would go and just do a bag of Legos.
Yeah.
And it's like 15 minutes, right? So like, don't get me wrong, people who's listening to this, like I'm not stopping in the middle of my day and not working for a few hours to do Legos. But I would stop to do 1 bag, okay?
Maybe sometimes you do need to stop. Maybe sometimes you need to stop, walk away, right? Do your Legos, because, like you said, walk away, de-stress, clear your mind, and then you could come up with some different solution. Like, yeah, I think that's fun. Legos is fun. My daughter does it a lot. Her room is.
It also gets expensive these days.
Oh yeah,
so.
Legos are.
Do you remember Legos when we were kids? It was like you just get a bucket of it, and you just have to get creative and build whatever. Like I was never creative, so I would just build like a wall of Lego. It's kind of.
What did you build? It's a multicolored wall.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it was literally like, come on, everyone, like it's a bucket this big, plastic bucket, and there's just Lego pieces inside, different colors, different sizes.
I made a house.
You made a house. Okay, well, I made a colorful wall, okay? But nowadays, Legos, it does get expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, I still encourage people to build Legos. I think it's a great release.
I encourage people to find whatever they're passionate about and go from there. Like for me, it's just those activities I like. Probably want to try other ones. One other thing that I used to do also, which which kept me in shape and all that stuff, is I tried jujitsu.
Okay.
I got my ass handed to me because it was a brand new little tiny studio in Hoboken when I lived in Jersey City. So, and I used to go in the middle of the day just because, for an hour I would do quote unquote my lunch break, whatever. So I would go get my ass handed to me and just de-stress just throughout the day. So I tried that. I wouldn't try it again. Not for me. Not for me. I was sore for about a week. The first few times I went.
Pretend this didn't happen.
Anything healthy, anything that people like, it's it's good. And listen, if somebody wants to sit there and they like to just drink, have at it, right? I do see some people that they shoot their videos, and I love it. Like they create cocktails. they create. That's their form of de-stress, is to sit there and find different cocktails to make, and then record it. They send it out. I'm like, oh man, that's a really good idea. You know?
Yeah, and it looks cool.
Yeah.
I mean, being a mixologist or, bartender I mean, personally, I did that for like 2 years and I thought it was fun. It was actually a very fun activity. It was a fun job, sans the drinking
Yeah, the
all
unhealthy.
night. But it is, anything that kind of takes your mind off things for a while, I think is not a bad idea, right? To each their own, right? I do Legos, you go to the gym. There was a period of time where I was knitting, right?
Oh, see, that's another cool one.
I have like one sock of every design. Like I can never finish it. But whatever, it's the process of knitting that's fun. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of knowing what your type of releases for that time. It can change. No one's saying, hey, you need to find something, excel in it, make it your lifelong hobby. It's whatever works for you then.
Right. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I also do think that there are some key factors that would work for everyone, which is the knowing when to ask for help, knowing how to set your boundaries, but also not so much knowing when to ask for help, knowing when and that you can, and to be comfortable asking for help, right?
Okay.
I truly believe that therapy is, it could be a huge upside, right? It could really help. It could be very beneficial for anyone. Even if you're not stressed out, it could give you clarity. But the key to that is also, if you're going to, and when I say therapy, I'm not saying, hey, you have to go like hire like a therapist or whatnot, but to find your own source of therapy is important. But you have to be open-minded to it.
I think another good sort of thing to help you de-stress and actually help you with your career, you mentioned it, and you're part of it, and every successful person that I know has one, but either having a mentor or a coach. I think that can help de-stress a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I fell into the mentoring coaching train, and I'm like addicted to it. I have a life coach, I have a business coach, I have a therapist, right? Like it's just, I feel like it not only elevated my quality of work, it actually elevated my quality of life.
Yeah, I can see that.
Whether it's on a business standpoint or on a personal standpoint, with friends, with family, just also teaching me emotional intelligence. Like it's very, like, I'm a fan of mentorship, I'm a fan of coaching, and that's another reason why I take all that. And like sometimes it's expensive, like some life coaches can charge like a ton of money. So what I kind of do is like, I take what I learn and I also try to pay it forward, right? Like I am not shy about reiterating or actually regurgitating what I hear from my coaches to other people around me, because I think it's valuable. So I'm just gonna, like, it's not like some secret treasure chest I'm holding dear to myself and it's like my secret weapon and I don't want to share. I think part of also being in a community is sharing what you know.
Yeah.
So you don't need to go and pay for a coach. It's just sometimes you can just listen to what your friends have to say, like be open to other people's advice. I'm not saying you have to take everyone's advice, but being open to it, having an open mind is the first step.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree on it. I think this conversation that we're having today is important, right? Especially given how the environment was past 2 years. A lot of people are stressed out. So just talking about healthier alternatives is good. Talk about mentors and coaches. I think that'd be a great episode one day. So maybe we want to think about that.
Actually, we can even invite some guests on to give their input, some real high powered, been there, done that kind of guests to give their input on what works and hasn't for them.
Yeah.
Would be nice, right? But we're gonna keep that a little bit of a surprise for everyone. We'll figure that part out, and make sure you guys follow along with us and continue to listen to our podcasts.
Yeah, but I think we've talked about this enough for today, even though, I mean, we could probably still keep going on.
I know. Because it's like, talking about this is actually a little therapeutic for
Exactly.
me too.
Yeah.
I kind of I feel pretty good right now.
Yeah.
We should have more of these sessions, Gary.
Yeah. But I'd want to know what everybody else thinks. So, if people can tell us what they do to de-stress, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Drop a line, leave us a comment, anything. Or just a lot of people who are listening to our podcast know us personally.
Send us a text at 11:45 at night,
Yeah, and allow me to ignore it.
There you go. That's therapy in itself. I'm just not. But, all right, I think it's a good episode. Thank you guys all for listening. Hope you tune in next time. Bye.
Bye.